What's up guys, my name is CARTFISH. I'm a producer and DJ based in South Florida, and I'm going to show you how to get started in Ableton. So let's get right into it. What you are looking at is Ableton 12. I am an Ableton user. I've never used Logic Pro, I've never used FL Studio, none of that, just Ableton. So that is what I'm going to be teaching in. So this is a brand new project. If you have never seen Ableton before, that is okay. I know it can be overwhelming to look at. It's a lot. It's a very complex piece of software, so don't get overwhelmed. I'm gonna go step by step, get you started, and it really isn't too difficult once you kind of do it step by step. Take it slow and don't just jump in at first. So this is what a new project looks like, okay? So if you look up top, you'll see, up top and to the right, you'll see these labels: ref track, kicks, drums, bass, sub bass, room reverb, and main, which I'm gonna explain what all of those are. But this is your project, that's what this is called. And these little blocks on the right side, they represent your different channels. So channel number 1, you'll see reference track. A reference track essentially is it's a track that you're referencing when you're building out music. So I like to have a reference track in here just to give me inspiration. I like to see how it's laid out, the way that they structured their music, how long it is, where the breaks are, and that type of thing. I was taught by a really great team of producers, and this is what they said to do with every song, is use a reference track. So that's what the reference track section is. Just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna minimize that because we're not gonna be building out a full song. I'm simply showing you guys how to get your basics in there. So like your kicks, your drums, what the different buttons are, and get familiarized with Ableton as a software. So, all right, so if you're looking at Ableton, like I said, on the right side, you have your channels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can go up to as many as you want. I don't know how many you can actually put in there, a lot. These little things here, these are just volume buttons. So if you play a track and you want to turn down, that's how you control the volume. And then these knobs we'll get into in a further video. That's where it gets a little bit confusing. So the basics are that these are channels, you have volume buttons, and the numbers represent which channel it is. So if you go over here, you'll see this little box. These are my kicks. So I've already programmed in some kicks. I'm gonna delete them just to show you guys. So looking at this channel where it says kicks, you can have 2 different types of channels, okay? You can have a channel called an audio track, which I just added by right-clicking and then doing insert audio track. And an audio track is for pre-made audios to be dragged and dropped into the software. So, for example, I have, on the left side here, I have a loop, like a standard drum loop. So what I can do with that is drag it from my left sidebar into the software if it's an audio track. So now we have that drum loop in here because I dragged it into the audio track, and if I click play, we have that playing. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna delete that audio track that I just made. Now the other type of channel that you can add is a MIDI track or a MIDI channel. And by the way, track and channel, they're interchangeable here. So just to make it even more confusing for you. So you just saw me add an audio track or an audio channel. Now I'm gonna do a MIDI track or a MIDI channel. MIDI is what you as a producer would program in. You're not gonna add in a pre-made audio, you're not gonna add in a loop, you're gonna program it in. So what you do to add a MIDI track in is highlight the section that you want it in, right click, and then click insert empty MIDI clip, and that'll let you program in actual keys and notes. So we'll get into that later, but that is the difference between a MIDI track and an audio track, or a MIDI channel and an audio channel. All right. To keep it simple, I'm gonna call you these tracks, not channels. Some people call them channels, I call them tracks, I call them tracks. So anyway, so you'll see up here where it says kicks. I'm gonna minimize these just so we're focused on the kick. So see up here it says kick. I personally like to use MIDI for my kicks, and I'll explain why. I like to have as much control as possible over what I'm doing. So with a loop that's already pre-made with a kick, I can't control the transients or the details of it. When it's programmed by myself in a MIDI track, I can. So let's get into it. So what I did to add the MIDI track, remember, I highlighted and inserted MIDI clips. That's what this is. I renamed it kicks. And then here, you'll see this is just a drum rack. So I'll show you what I did. So I just go over here to the search bar and type in drum rack, and I drag and drop that into the track or the channel. What a drum rack is essentially a digital instrument. So I can put in different samples into the drum rack and play them. I'll show you guys again, bear with me. So drum rack, I'm gonna rename this kick because I'm only using this for a kick. Then I'll go over to my hard drive, which has a lot of my samples, and I'm gonna look at my kicks. Go through a few. I like this one, it's like fat, pretty fat. So now I dragged that sample into the drum rack. It doesn't matter which area of the drum rack you put it on. You can label them if you want. I didn't, I just made it kick. Then I go over here and click into here. And now I'm programming my kick. So I want the kick to be on every fourth. So I did. Now if you click playback, you should hear the kick. Okay. I'm going to Control All and duplicate just for quick workflow. And now I have all of these kicks programmed into my MIDI. So now you have a kick. Okay. So going down to the drums. This is the drums, same thing. I have a drum rack here with my drums. I'm actually going to delete these because these were pre-labeled and I want to make this as easy as possible for you guys. So drums here, empty drum rack, just like the kicks. I'm going to go to my samples, and I have a bunch of different samples downloaded onto a drive. I'm always downloading sample packs. So that is what all these samples are that you're looking at. So we'll just go to maybe this Black Mania. Let's do drum shots, and let's do a clap. So we'll use this clap. I'm just gonna drag it in. Maybe let's do this shaker. And then maybe, I don't know, a hi-hat. All right, so now we've got, in our drum rack for our drums, we have a clap, a shaker, and a hi-hat. Okay, now we know that. So that's our kick playing. Let's put in a hat. I'm just gonna duplicate it. Okay. We have a basic hat in here. I'm not gonna go into any of the details about velocity and that type of thing and mixing with this. This is just showing you how to program your drums and your kick and your basics into Ableton. All right, so we have a hat. Let's see. Let's drop a shaker on every downbeat. Okay, and then our third drum is our clap. I guess not. There we go. I'm gonna turn some of these drums down just because they're a little bit loud. If you have a sample, maybe you have a bass loop that's already sampled from Splice or something, you do insert audio track and then drag and drop. Okay, but we don't have that. So I'm going to insert a new MIDI track, and all these two are is a main bass and a sub bass. I like to split my basses up and have like a mid top bass where I cut out the low end, and the sub bass is just the sub or the low end. I'm gonna use a plugin, and it's a synthesizer called Serum. So you just drag and drop that synthesizer. You do have to buy Serum. There's a few other ones, but Serum is my favorite. Here's Serum so you guys can see it. When you open the plugin, this is what it looks like. We don't have a key set for this song. So if you go up here to the top left, you can set the key F minor, and let's see. So This is the open MIDI channel, or like the MIDI piano roll, so you can see all your keys. I have highlight scale here to match F minor, so that way you're never gonna be out of key. But let's just start with the root note. Remember, this is bass, so we're gonna want to drop it down an octave or two. Okay. I like that low one like that. Alright, I like how that's sounding. So now we have our basic root notes for our bass. Okay, cool. So, remember I said I like to do sub bass and the top to mid bass. That's all that I'm doing here. I just copied the notes from this MIDI and put it into the sub MIDI. Cut out the EQ real quick on this. We're grooving already. So I am going to pause there because that is more than enough to get you started in Ableton. You learned how to put in kicks, program kicks, program drums, add a drum rack to your channels. You learned about audio versus MIDI channels, and even how to program some bass lines with Serum, which is a plugin. Like I said, Ableton is a very daunting looking, it really is not too hard, and it is a really, really strong software in DAW. In my opinion, it's the best out there, even though I haven't used the other ones, but based on what I've heard and people I've talked to, there's obviously a lot more to this, but I just wanted to show you guys the basics of how to get started and program a kick and a drum loop. Splice has a bunch of fun samples that you can just download and drag and drop and make different projects. I think that's a good way to get started, just to learn, how the buttons work, where things are stored, and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna do a few more videos, maybe a series about after this, because I like producing, I like sharing my knowledge. So I'm going to get into a little more detail, build out a full track with you guys, and of course, if you have any questions about anything, please drop them. I probably know the answer. If I don't, I probably know someone that does. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next video.